Minecraft has many different biomes, ranging across all three of its dimensions. Of course, all of these dimensions each have a selection for the easiest, or all-around solid, or the most difficult biome to live in. Today, we're going to touch on the overworld's hardest biome, the desert, and see just how hard it is to survive in a biome with zero trees or any dirt to plant crops. Spoiler alert, it was rather easy. This is how I survived in the overworld's hardest biome. Thanks to this neat little world generation tool called Single Biome, we can select it so that the entire world is just one big desert. I hope you like sand and water, because that's going to be the main blocks of choice. Now let's enter a seed. And of course, a legendary name by slapping the keyboard. Ah yes. Standing for very funny, never died, just kidding. We also have a bonus chest turned on, so for this reason, we're going to be playing on survival mode with the hard difficulty, and not hardcore. Man, shaders make this look so cool, huh? In our bonus chest, we get some tools, fish, as well as some wood planks and sticks. Alright. Realizing a village was nearby, I decided to not head to that pillager tower and look over the mountain for that village. It's here that I realized that caves and cliffs really did a work on the sand biomes. They really do look a lot better now, so props to you, Mojang. After climbing for a bit, I spotted that village from a distance, but then I decided to turn off the shaders because, let's just say they were becoming a bit of a lag issue. With this, we make haste for the village before seeing a desert temple off to the side. I'm starting to see a trend here. I then proceed to rob the village of all its food and prepare to set up my base of operations. I found a big, black, ominous cave. It wasn't really that major, so I don't know why I'm saying it's big, black, and ominous, but, you know. I made a sugarcane farm, because why not? And then I headed out to explore that desert temple. I proceeded to grab the TNT, which is going to be very useful later on, and gathered some basic materials from this temple, mostly the bones of the corpses I've killed, their rotten flesh, and a small amount of gold and iron. I proceeded to punch a large sum of dead bushes after leaving the temple, as they can drop sticks without having to find wood. And speaking of all of these materials, I haven't told you the goals that I've set for this video. The first we've actually completed already, and that was to establish a farm, which we did via that sugarcane. The second is to establish a base. We haven't quite done this yet, but we're gonna get to it a bit later on. The third is to acquire diamonds and armor. This can be done through pretty much any means, let's be honest, most likely through caves and desert temples. And lastly, to breach the nether and raid a bastion remnant. That last one seems a bit much, admittedly, but I think we can still do it so long as the temple gods are wanting to help me or not. That cave from earlier was not super special. It literally did not have any iron in it whatsoever. The best thing that it made me do was kill several skeletons and nearly die at once. After, however, I gathered what was left of the food in the village and planned to head a direction of some sort in search for more villages and desert temples. And I found one immediately. Alright, I'm good. Although this one was very crucial to my goals because it contained not just bones and gunpowder and rotten flesh, but it contained 3 diamonds. Cool. Now equipped with a diamond pickaxe, I set my eyes on nether remnants to get obsidian to go to the nether. And then 45 seconds later, I found a remnant buried in the ground along with a second village. Okay, my luck is high. Someone called the luck police. I raided the village for all that they're worth, watched a rabbit get mauled by a cat, and mined all of the obsidian blocks in this second remnant. I returned to the first village to establish a base and prepared a spot for my nether portal. And began to prepare for my journey into the nether as a naked Alex, and I lit the portal and ventured inside. I spawned just under a crimson forest, and my first objective was to find some piglins to use my gold with. They actually gave me some cool items, mostly a large quantity of fire resistance potions. You know, I knew my fire mixtape was fire, but it wasn't this fire, like you didn't have to let me know. I returned to the overworld just briefly to make some leather armor, gather some blocks, and then return to the nether to begin my search for a bastion. It took roughly about 20 minutes of looking, but eventually, I found one. I proceeded to mine out more blocks, and with a ghast in sight, began bridging to the bastion. My goal here was to trade with some of the piglins, rob their gold in the process, and loot the place as much as I could. I nearly got one-tapped by this man who was clearly pissed, and this is where that TNT from earlier comes into play. We'll come back to trade with our piglin friends here in a bit, but for now, I narrowly escaped this ghast, who will meet his demise a bit later on. I returned to the overworld to drop off items, make better equipment, and plan to return to the bastion for some trading. I first, however, found a smaller group and gave them some gold first, since, you know, I figured that trading with different geared piglins yields different loot. I don't know if that actually does it, but I would assume it does. I later found this guy, a survivor from a hoglin attack, and he was very, very nice to have a friend in his life. After this, I returned to the bastion, made a box, and lured my friends into it to begin an Among Us killtrocity, and the trading began. After spending a whopping 10 minutes trading with my friends, I let them go and sprinted back to deposit my items, to then find a pigman in my home. How did you get here, buddy? Now, normally, this is where I would end the video, but I had this TNT and I wanted to use it for completely legal reasons, so I made plans to head to Y level 12 in the nether, the ideal spot for netherite, and planned to find a way to make a netherite pickaxe, because I gotta flex somehow. I returned to first show this ghast who's boss, since, well, he kinda made me mad. However, I realized that if I wanted to get to Y12, I was going to have to use those fire resistance potions. See? I told you they'd have a use. I returned to the Nether and decided to go for a swim. I built a bridge to where I had came from and dug down in the hopes of finding netherite. Sadly, after doing this for quite a while, I didn't find any netherite, so instead, I decided to ruin the day of every Slenderman in the game. And once I felt satisfied, I said goodbye to the Nether and went home. I then proceeded to get scolded by the Iron Golem, and now I'm bad. No!